in listen-only mode.
Okay, hello everyone. Appreciate you guys coming and being here today. We're going to jump right into this. This week's webinar is going to be about posting charges and payments. I'm going to show you several different manners in which you can go about doing that, particularly with the recurring billing. So we'll show you how to post the tuition charges for your payment plans or your billing frequencies, and then turn right around and actually process the credit cards for that same for the same charges. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start pretty basic here. On an individual account, you have multiple ways that you can actually enter a charge. So on the actual account information page, pretty straightforward. Here you have the option to do your tuition charge as well as your registration charge. When you use this tuition charge button, it will automatically calculate the tuition based off of this number. Also factored into that will be the billing frequency that they're on. So let's say they're on a full year billing frequency, and maybe they're 10 months in your year. It'll automatically take this number, multiply it by 10 for you, and charge them the appropriate amount. If you have any sort of tuition discounts, it will also calculate that discount in. So that's pretty easy. Registration charge button, pretty straightforward also. It's going to use the registration system that you set up in your defaults. So that should be under the school defaults. So if it's $25 for one student, it'll automatically charge them that. Maybe you have it $40 for two students. You notice it tells you how many are active, so it'll base the tuition charge or the registration charge off that amount. All you got to do is hit enter charge, and it will charge the account for the registration fee. You can also use these links here at the top. So you have enter charge, enter payment, or you can do them both all in one function. Pretty straightforward. You just go to that screen, choose a charge from your drop-down code. Let's say maybe a private lesson. It's $50. Put in the payment type. We'll say it's a check. If they're writing you a check, you can put the check number and the reference if you like. Put in the payment amount and then just hit enter. Pretty simple. If they're doing credit card, if it's a new card, let's say it's a new customer and they're paying you with a credit card for the first time, you just put in the choose credit card there, and then you can fill their information in. If you have a card swiper, you can just check this box and then swipe the card, and it'll fill in all the data for you. Be sure to pay attention to the billing address. Shouldn't happen a ton, but if you get a customer whose the address on their credit card doesn't match the account address in DanceWorks, it won't let you save that card, so just pay attention to that. If for some reason you try to save a card and it tells you not to, double check that first. That's usually the first thing that'll throw it off. If you want to save that card, you can just use this box. Otherwise, let's say they have a card in file, you can just check this, and it'll automatically pull that information up, and then just simply hit enter transaction, and it will enter the charge, enter the payment, and apply that payment all in one click. So pretty straightforward there. On the account transactions page, you can also do the same things. You have enter charge and payment, enter charge, enter payment. If you want to enter a credit onto the account, you will use this button. If you want to refund a payment, you can either use this button, or you can also just use the little blue link next to the actual payment. We put these in not too terribly long ago. And then if, let's say you have an account that for some reason has a bunch of unapplied payments, then you can just, you can just use this apply all button to apply them all to charges in one click. What it's going to do, anytime you use apply all, it's going to apply the payments to the oldest charges first. So if there's a outstanding balance from a charge 6 months ago and you hit apply all, it's going to apply the money to that charge first. So just pay attention to that. Also on the screen, again, you can use this button, or let's say the customer wants to is making a payment, you can also click the Pay Charge button. So let's say I want to pay that registration charge. I'll just click that link, put in my payment type. Let's just say cash because it's $10. Your date, you can change the description to whatever you want it to be, and then hit Enter Payment. And it'll pop that up and say payment entered successfully. The difference here, if you use the Enter Payment button up here, you'll put in your payment information, and then it's going to bring up a list of the charges for you to actually choose what you want to apply it to. If you use the, oh, hold on, let me get back. Sorry. There we go. If you use the link next to the actual charge, if you use the Pay Charge link, it will actually automatically apply that payment to that charge, so it does cut out a step. So just keep that in mind. But most of the stuff, for most of you guys, should be pretty straightforward. Another way to enter charges onto an account onto an account would be through the classes. Let's say you have some sort of class that you need to charge everyone in that class for something. I don't know what an example might be. Maybe it's a competition class and everybody has a specific fee, or maybe the class is doing something else, something extra, and they've decided to take up money for it. You can actually go to the class, use the Charge Class button, and then you can just put in whatever you need. Let's say a competition fee, $100. You'll have the option to allow the parent to pay that online if you want. So if you don't want them to pay it online, you'll just uncheck that box. You can charge only the kids who are participating in recital. So if it's something to do with the recital and there's students who aren't participating, check that box and they won't get charged. And you can also check to make sure that no discounts apply to that fee. So that's pretty easy and a good way to charge everyone in a specific class for something. Following up on the class or the recital participation, if a kid doesn't want to actually participate in a recital, all you have to do next to their name, just click Drop Recital, and that will take them out. So in a situation like that, they would not get charged. Pause for just a second here. We have a question, and if you guys do have questions, feel free to send them to me as we work through this. This question was, when you charge tuition from the account page. So let me go back. I want to go to account. Okay. So if I wanted to, if this person, let's say they're on a yearly billing frequency, full season, save. If I'm charging, if I have people who want to pay or who are doing the whole year, the question was, will it break it down into monthly, or is it going to charge them for the whole year at one time? That's the point of the billing frequencies. So if you want to offer a full year option to people, you certainly can, and that's why you would set up the billing frequency for that, and you would assign that particular billing frequency to their account. What's going to happen is when you do that, this, in most cases, is going to be a monthly amount, and it's going to use this billing frequency when you set it up to know what to multiply this by. So if my year is 10 months long, when I set up the billing frequency, I'm going to set it up with a multiplier of 10, and then it should automatically, when I hit this button, and I'm not sure what this one's set up for, but what should happen is it would multiply this number by 10, and then they would have to pay it right then. Okay. And then, so the follow-up question, no, they won't get charged this amount every month, and that's the other reason you want to set up the billing frequency. And I'm going to get to that here in just a few minutes when I get to the recurring billing, because I'll show you how that works, and it'll make much more sense. So just give me a few minutes, and then I'll get to that for you. Okay, so back on the class page, this is pretty straightforward. Again, you can just charge, if you have some sort of fee you want to apply to a specific class, you can do it from right here using the Charge Class button. Also, if you need to credit something to an entire class, maybe a class got canceled for some unexpected reason, then you need to give everyone a credit, you can use this button as well. So that's another way an easy way to handle everyone in a specific class. Okay, so you have a couple of other options for charging everyone at one time. So we're going to go to charges and payments. I'm going to come back to tuition charges here in just a second. I'm going to start with posting late charges. So if you want to automatically post late charges for everyone, you can do that here. So you would go to charges and payments and then just choose post late charges. You'll choose a billing frequency that you want to post the charges for. So maybe your monthly people, a posting date, and then you have some other options here. And then you're going to tell it which type of charge for the late charges to apply to. So any of these that you get checked, if there's an unpaid charge of that type, say a costume or a tuition fee, if there's any unpaid tuition charge on that account, when you hit this button, that account will get charged a late fee for that. So so what it's doing is it's looking for any unpaid charge of whatever type you choose here, and it will charge them a late fee. Late fee can be in your setup. You can set it up as a dollar amount, as a percentage, whatever you prefer. So just keep in mind that that's how it works. You can also do post account charges. This gives you quite a few options here. You can post a charge for each account, for each student, for specific accounts. So if you choose that, it'll bring a list of your accounts up, and you should be able to just pick and choose the ones you want. You can do selected students, works the same way, just based on the students. You can do each student times the number of classes. So if it's a student that's in 3 classes, they should get charged. Hold on a second, let me reread this again. So this one, they would only get charged once per student. If you choose this one, they would get charged for each student for each class. So if they're in 3 classes, they would get charged 3 times. You can also charge for a specific group code. So if you have a competition team and they're in a bunch of different classes, but they're all in that same team, you could choose if you have the competition group code assigned to them, like dance company, it would charge anyone that this is assigned to. And you can do that by the account or by the student. So if you do it by the student and there are siblings with that group code, then they would get charged twice. And basically with this, you can pick from any of your charge codes. You can put in whatever amount, whatever description you want, and then just hit the post button and you're ready to go. It's pretty straightforward. These two are the only ones you got to kind of pay attention to make sure you select the correct one. But again, this page will let you post basically any type of general charge across multiple accounts at one time, so that you're not having to go account by account and add in some sort of fee or competition fee or what have you. Okay, so now posting tuition, because this is the biggie. This is how you're going to post, for the most part, your monthly tuition charges, but you can also post for any specific type of billing frequency. So what you're going to do here, first things first, you're going to choose the billing frequency which you want to post the tuition charges for, and that is why it's really important that you set the correct billing frequency on an account. If someone's paying yearly, you want to make sure you put them on that yearly billing frequency so that when you come in here and do these monthly charges, they don't get charged for their tuition, or they don't get that tuition fee. So make sure when you enroll an account, you get them on the correct billing frequency. So we're going to select monthly. You can put choose the date. If you change this date, let's say it's August 23rd, and you want to get ahead and post your September tuition, you can just change the calendar, change the date to September 1st. It'll automatically change that description for you. But that being said, you can come in here and type right over that description anything you want it to say, and then make sure you select any of these options down here. First one tells the program to apply any prior open payments or credits to this charge. So if the account has paid ahead or you've credited them some money back at some point and that credit has not been used up, if you check that box, it'll automatically apply that credit to this tuition charge. So they'll just have to pay. They'll be able to pay a little bit less. This is obviously to make sure that they can pay the charge online if you want to. If for some reason you don't want to allow any discounts to be applied to this, check this box. If you want to include a student fee or an account fee, I think I've talked about these when we were going over the account screens. Don't see a lot of people using these any longer. Let me back up and show you what I'm talking about just to make sure if someone wasn't here last week, they know what I'm talking about. So if you look at one of these accounts, at the bottom of the account page and also the student page, you have these different types of fees. You can set these up to be whatever you want, but if you attach one of these, when you attach one of these, you can allow it to be included into your monthly tuition posting using that box I was just showing you. So if you check this box, either of these boxes, whichever fee you've selected would get included. Really about the only situation I've seen people use that for anymore. One or two schools I've talked to will charge a fee for credit card processing to cover the percentage that they lose. I'm not personally a big fan of that. I think you're better off just increasing your tuition $1, a little bit for a semester to cover that fee rather than tacking on a bunch of extra fees. But it's obviously your business. And then finally, this last option, post tuition based on the number of classes scheduled this month. We don't really see a lot of people using this anymore either. I think most people, when they set up their year, they understand that there's going to be certain months that there's going to be an extra day of class. For example, if there are 5 Wednesdays in a month, they obviously get an extra class there. Used to, we would see more people doing that where they would charge that extra bit. If you check that box, it will recalculate their tuition to cover that. But we don't see a lot of people using that anymore. I think most people have figured out just to even it out. They look at their whole year and understand that that's going to happen, and they just even it out with their tuition set up. But that is certainly an option. So bottom line, you're going to pick the billing frequency. You're going to put your date, your tuition, make sure you select any of these options, and then you're going to hit post tuition. It'll give you a little warning to make sure you know what you're doing, tell you that it can't be actually it can be undone now, and then you'll say OK, and it's going to post. So when you select one of these frequencies, this number right here should change. What this is telling you is how many how many accounts fall under that particular frequency. So if I change it to full, now I only have 3 of those, and there's my multiplier. So when you hit post, it's going to show you A, the number of accounts that it posted the tuition to, B, it's going to show you the total amount, and then C, it's going to build a history here. So it'll show you the day that you posted it. Well, it's going to use whatever date you use, but it's going to show you the date, the total number of accounts, and then the total amount, and it'll show you for every time that you posted in that session. So if I go back and look at maybe a previous session, let's see. There we go. So that's what it's going to look like. If you make a mistake, here's an example. You can see that there were this was done actually 3 times on July 17th. So if you make a mistake, accidentally do it twice, just simply hit delete. It's going to ask you for a password. Should just be the password that you logged in with. You hit OK or hit delete charges, and it will remove those charges for you. And it will remove them from everyone's account. So if you do make a mistake, it can be undone. So not too terribly over the top. So this make sure you select the correct frequency. Make sure, again, if we're talking about yearly people, typically if they're doing a full year, they paid up front. So I don't see a whole lot of situations where you would be doing this all at once, unless you just decided to wait till you got everyone enrolled and then charge their full year tuition. That would allow you to do everybody in that frequency at the same time. But most studios, if they're going to do full season, they just charge them right as they do the enrollment and take the money. But if you, let's say you do a semester and you split that year in half, you would probably charge them the first time up front, right at the beginning when you enroll them. But come January, maybe February, when you're ready to charge all those people again, you could select your semester, put in your date, tells you the multiplier, and you hit post. It's going to take that tuition amount, multiply it by 5 for you. This would give them a 5% discount, and then you are ready to go. So let's say it's the beginning of September, beginning of the year. I've just posted my tuition for all my monthly people. How do I get the money? If they've signed up for recurring billing, how do I turn around and process those cards? So not terribly difficult. So I'm just going to back up. You can either just go right here to post credit card payments, or let's say you're on another screen, you'll just come to post, you'll go to charges and payments, hit post credit card payments here. And this is going to give you a list of all your recurring people. So this is all the people in this test studio that have credit cards on file and are set to recurring billing. You can see the box is checked for yes here. So what I'm going to do, scroll down here to the bottom. I'm going to tell the program what type of charges I want to run their billing for. So I'm just going to do tuition. I'm going to tell it a date range of charges, and let me show you something if you didn't just see this. Okay, you see there's an amount here. It gives you an amount next to each person. If you change the type of charge, that should change. So it went down slightly for us. If I do registration, it should go down even further. And there we go. We only have that one $10 charge. So we're going to do tuition. So currently, there's $160.68 of outstanding tuition money that falls between these two dates. And that's really important. You make sure you set your date range, because what the program's going to do is it's going to look for any unpaid charge of the type that you choose here on the left that falls between these two dates. So if you've just posted tuition for September 1st, you have to make sure that you include that September 1st, that date. Now, what some studios I've talked to do is, let's say it's all of a sudden it's October 1st. Well, what you could do is backdate this from the beginning date to maybe September 1st. If for some reason last month someone's credit card didn't go through and they never paid, if you include last month's and they have an unpaid charge, you would get it. If their credit card goes through this time, you would get that money. I don't think a lot of studios do that, but it's certainly an option. I would make sure that when people sign up for recurring billing, you make sure that they understand that that may happen. Just something to be aware of. Again, before I hit process, I can change the description to whatever I want it to be. You can make this, again, whatever you want it to be. And then finally, you're going to hit process cards. When you hit process cards, what's going to happen is it's going to start processing each individual's credit card. Now, depending on how many you have, this is obviously going to take different amounts of time. Typically, it's just a few minutes. But if you have 300 accounts, then it may take 10. But what's going to happen is individually it's going to tell you what happened with that card. It'll start at the top and work its way down. It'll say approved, 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 declined, approved, approved, expired card, approved, approved. And then when it's done, it will give you the option to email everyone their receipt. It will also give you the option to print out your reports. And when you print the report, you can either print the status for all the cards, you can print just the cards that got approved, or what I think would probably be the most helpful, just the cards that got declined. That way you have a short list of the cards that did not go through for whatever reason, and you can start following up with those people. I mean, every month you're probably going to have somebody that lost their debit card or credit card at some point. They got it replaced. They just did not think to call you and update it. You're going to have one or two that may have expired, and they just did not think to let you know that they got a new card. Every month you're going to have a handful of those. You can call them, you can email them, whatever you're most comfortable with. Now, one other thing on these recurring billing I want to cover. see this recurring billing date. It can be any day within this range. It does not have to, you don't have to run the cards on whatever the day is. All this is really is a way to group people together. Most studios I talk to, they only give the people one option. They run everybody's card on one day. If you're going to do that, you can just set it to one, leave it alone, not have to worry about it. Let's say you want to give them the option to maybe either run it on the 1st or on the 15th. Well, then what you could do is anyone that wanted to run their card on the 15th, you could just set their, when you actually on their account, let me just show it to you from there. Okay, so we have a credit card on file here. So let's say Mr. Battier wanted to pay on the 15th rather than the 1st. Maybe it's a little bit easier with his family's budget. You could just set him to 15, hit save, and set anyone who wanted to do that on that day to that same group. And then what happens is when you go to post credit card payments, you can come down here, change this to the 15th, and you should see, well, hold on, what did I do wrong? Bear with me. I left the step out. There we go. That was wrong. Let's make sure he's on yes. Okay. Now we're good. So make sure you change the recurring. Make sure they are on recurring billing. You get the correct day. Now, charges and payments, post credit card payments. Change this to 15. And then voila, he's there. And anyone else who's on the same group would be there together also. Now, like I said, it doesn't matter what this day is. You could set it to either Group 1 and Group 2, and you could run Group 2 on the 15th. So the day doesn't, you don't have to run the cards on whatever day this is. So a lot of people get worried about that. Doesn't matter. It's just a way to group the people together. It's not connected to the actual day of the month. Again, once you're done, you'll hit process. Once they're done, you can email everyone their receipt. If their account for some reason doesn't have an email address on file, it'll give you the option to print that receipt out, and you can either wait on them to come in and hand it to them, give it to their kid when the kid comes in, waste a stamp and mail it to them if you want, but you can do all of those things. So it's not overly complicated, pretty simple. Also, while we have a little extra time, if you ever have an issue with the credit cards, you can always view your batch here, going to the closeout credit card payments. Well, and then you can figure out what's going on with it as soon as I can get mine going here. So, okay, here we go. It just takes a minute for the screen to come up. But you can always view what's going on with a specific batch, or if there's ever a question, hey, you know, someone calls in and says, hey, you accidentally charged my card twice on the 1st. You can come to your settlement history, and you can actually view the details of a batch. These screens do take just a little bit longer to load because they're going to have to communicate with PowerPay. But you can come in here and you can actually look at the settlement, the details of a batch, and see what happened. So if they say, hey, my card accidentally got charged twice, you can come in and actually see what happened with it. Makes it easy. If you ever do accidentally charge someone twice, this actually happens more from the parent's end. But if a card gets charged twice for some reason or gets charged the wrong amount, if that batch has not closed, easiest thing to do, go into the batch, delete that charge. It'll stay on their credit card for the remainder of the day. When their bank processes again, because you've canceled it, that hold should come off of their card, and that'll be the end of it. If you have to give them an actual refund, if you guys have ever gotten a refund on your credit card, you probably know. For some reason, it takes banks 3 to 5 days typically to process that. I always try to tell people ahead of time, hey, just be aware it may take a few days for this to show up, so that they're not calling you asking you where the refund was. So some things to be aware of. But for the most part, this stuff's not overly difficult. It's just making sure you know exactly what everything is. And I think we've covered pretty much everything. So you got your post-tuition charges, account charges, late charges, posting your credit card payments, and then closing out the credit card payments. One other function you have on this tab, we built this in, I don't know, about a year ago probably. If for some reason you guys are not in the habit of applying payments as they're made, get into that habit, because it makes your accounting much easier. Makes finding out where your money is much easier, because if you don't apply payments, it looks like all those charges are unpaid when you try to run reports. But let's say for some reason that's the case. This function right here, if you hit apply all, it will scan your program, find any payment that is unapplied, and it will apply it to the charges to clean that up. Again, it's going to start with the oldest charges first and work its way forward. So just keep that in mind. So they may, if you haven't been applying, then your parents probably aren't that worried about it. So just keep that in mind. Bottom line, their balance is always going to be the same no matter whether you apply the payments or not. It's just a matter of, it's just an accounting tool really, so that you know where the money's going, what money hasn't been paid, and what have you. So just keep that in mind. Okay, I went over a lot, went over it fairly quickly. We got plenty of time for questions, not as big a crowd today. So if you guys have any questions, Margaret, if I didn't cover your question completely, let me know, and I'll be happy to try to explain it a little bit more. But shoot me some questions. If you have questions about what we've gone over, great. If not, that's great too. We'll go off topic a little bit and see what's going on. Here we go. Okay. I do not have an update on the credit card processing for Canada, for Canadian customers. I haven't been told anything other than I think what I may have said last time, which was the end of the month. As far as I know, that's still the plan, but if I hear something other than that, I will let you know. Slow question day. Anyone else have anything? Okay. Okay, Sarah, I think that's a good question. So, question is about if the studio charges the parent for the entire year up front. Give me just a second. Let me get back to that account, and we'll actually do one. What happens if you charge the entire year up front but don't make them pay it all? They can just kind of pay the charge in installments, I think is the question. If I'm wrong, correct me, Sarah. Nothing wrong with that. All it will do is it'll look like an unpaid or a partially paid charge on their account. So, all right. So based on this, if I remember, the the multiplier was 10. So this should come out to $550, provided there aren't any discounts. Okay. So there was a discount on this account. So it started at 55 times 10 minus 10%. So it came out to $495 before tax. $529.65 after, so we're going to enter that charge. And then now our account balance is $529.65. So if I want to enter a payment, let's say they're just going to pay 100 of that. They're going to pay by check. We'll put in our check number. And you can say, you can put in the description tuition payment. and then you're going to hit enter payment. And then this is what I was saying earlier. So if you use the enter payment button, it's going to take you to this screen where you actually have to apply the payment. You can either auto apply, which again will apply this money to the oldest unpaid charge, which in this case is the only one, so it doesn't really matter. Or you can do apply entire payment next. So let's say there were a long list of charges here. You would just click this next to, if you want to do the entire $100, you would click this next to the charge you want. Or if you wanted to split that charge up over some different things, you could do a partial payment. So we're going to do the entire. And then we're good. So we notice our payment balance went down. So now we can either print or email the receipt. But I'm going to go right back to the transactions. So we've applied this payment to this charge. The balance on this charge is just simply reduced by $429.65. So if that's the way you want to do it, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You just got to remember, I probably should change the tuition or the description there to full year. This is going to show up as unpaid money. So if you're running reports every month on who owes what, that's going to cause those people to owe money, even though it's not necessarily past due. Also, if you do for some reason if you do late charges, that would cause a late fee. But if you don't do late fees, then that's nothing to worry about. If you ever have a question about how something was applied, let's say maybe the description here just said payment and you didn't know what it was for, you can come here to details and it'll show you exactly where that got applied. So tuition, and then part of it actually went to the tax on that. It'll also show you who entered it in. So it uses the user's display name. It'll tell you when the payment was made, the date, and the exact time. If a parent makes it online, it will tell you that also. So if there's ever a question, that goes back to another thing. It's really important. It's really important for every employee to have their own username. I think I've said this before, but we're working towards adding some things, more secure things, that if anyone ever deletes something, you know exactly if they delete a session or an account or charges, you'll be able to see which user deleted whatever. But that doesn't work if everybody's sharing a username. So just keep in mind it's really important for everyone to have their own username. And that stuff, I don't know exactly when it's going to be, but it'll be fairly soon. So keep that in mind. Margaret, you asked me to show you. I didn't see exactly when that popped up. Tell me what do you want me to show you again? The payment applying the payment? Oh, the details. Okay. Yeah, if you ever have a question about a payment and what charges that was applied to, you just come right here and click on details. You can also do it on the charge. It works either way. So if you do it from the charge, it shows you all the different payments that are applied to that one charge. Or if you do it on the payment, it shows you all the different charges that payment is applied to. So let's say it's a $1,000 payment split up over tuition, costume, registration. It'll list all those different types of charges. If there was a mistake made, you can just unapply it. And then you can reapply it to the correct item. So when I unapply it, it adds the balance back to both items. So now there's a $100 balance on this payment and a $529 balance on this tuition charge. If I want to apply it, just hit apply. And then I just pick which one I want to apply it to again, and you're good to go. Anyone else have anything? Okay, I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes or another minute or so. Add in any questions. While we're waiting, next week, let's see what next week's webinar is on. So we go to webinars. Next week is the 30th, Friday of Labor Day. Let's see. So next week we're going to talk about session management. So we'll kind of go over setting up new sessions, editing current sessions, clearing session information, session data. We'll talk about the ways the sessions work together in DanceWorks Online. I know a lot of you guys are fairly new or really new with DanceWorks Online. So we'll talk about the differences between the sessions for DanceWorks Online and the desktop, because that is, for you guys on your end, that is the biggest difference. It takes a little getting used to. It's not difficult. I think it's better, honestly, but it takes some getting used to, and because most studios only deal with the session issue, the session stuff once, maybe twice a year, it does cause a little bit of confusion. So we'll go over that information as well. And I'll try to remember. I failed to send out a reminder this week. I think that's why we have a few less people here today. So I'll do that again next week. Any other questions? I'll give you one more minute. Oh, there we go. We will post. I've been recording these webinars, so I'll get them posted up on YouTube. I'm about 2 weeks behind on that, but I'll get them posted up on YouTube and then post them there and on our Facebook page next week. After next week's, obviously, we'll do the same thing the following week. So you should be able to get them all on YouTube. Watch them when they're a little bit more convenient for you. If you've forgotten something we talked about, you can always go back and watch them again. So that YouTube channel should be a great help for you guys. The icon, if you don't know, is at the bottom of all the pages in DanceWorks. Just click it, take you right there. Here's the webinars we've done over the last few weeks, minus a couple. There's also a lot of little 4- and 5-minute videos that are just about one particular function or topic. So you can use the search field here and just put in a couple of keywords, and it should most times pull up a video for you. So it doesn't look like there's any more questions, so I'm going to wrap it up. You guys have a great weekend, and we will talk to you next week. As I usually say, if you have any issues, you can either give us a call or you can go to your help menu and send us a support ticket. And if you have any questions about something I went over today, or just in questions or issues in general, just let me know. You guys have a great weekend.